Unaware of what had happened, Davy Blackburn was on his way home from the gym. After a few minutes on the phone in the car, he started to drive home. At home, his wife Amanda was waiting for him. Davy froze as he opened the door and walked in. As he walked through the door, he was greeted by the living room of the house. The living room was a scene of savagery. His wife Amanda was lying on the floor covered in blood. Davy began to wonder if this was a dream, but what he saw was real. He quickly recovered from the shock and rushed to Amanda's side. First, he felt her pulse. Amanda was still alive. He immediately called the emergency services for help. She was relieved when she heard a child crying upstairs. At least nothing had happened to the child. The living room was a mess. Amanda's bag had been emptied and thrown to the side. The police arrived on the scene along with the emergency services. They taped off the area and began searching for anything connected to the attack. Meanwhile, Amanda was taken to hospital, but she died the day after her admission. Amanda Blackburn was pregnant at the time of her death. The family's pain was doubled. Davy was alone in this life. Amanda was born in Michigan in 1987. She came from a very religious family. That's why her upbringing was very religious. After attending a high school where Christianity was taught, she studied in such a department at university. Her father was the senior pastor of the Baptist church in Elkhart, Indiana. While her peers were out having fun, Amanda was trying to fulfill God's command. Her dream was to serve Jesus for the rest of her life. She had made a vow during her ministry. She would not have sexual relations with anyone until she was married. It was a commitment to divine love. True to this promise, she did not engage in sexual activity until she met Davy Blackburn. Davy Blackburn was from a similar family. He also had a very devout Christian family. They met at a concert by a Christian band. Amanda and Davy were both at university at the time. After meeting, they quickly began a relationship. As they were both religious, they only went for walks together and had religious discussions. They were free from worldly things. They got along very well. Thinking that they could not find anyone better than each other, the couple got married in 2008. Now they belonged to each other. Now it was time to serve Jesus. After living in South Carolina for a couple of years, they moved to Indianapolis. Davy had been an associate pastor in South Carolina. It was Davy who wanted to move to Indianapolis. He wanted to start a youth church here. After they moved, they started a website. On this website, they shared articles about relationship advice. They were interested in what the Bible said about relationships. In 2014, the Blackburn family welcomed their first child, Weston. They had a beautiful home. They were able to influence young people. They regularly had young people in church to hear them preach. There was no better choice for Amanda and Davy than each other. Everything was perfect until 2015. It was a murder that shattered that perfection. Amanda's death also brought grief to the neighborhood. They were a couple loved by the locals and the internet. Everyone wanted the killer to be caught. The teams worked hard to get the case solved quickly. Pastor Davy had left the house at around 6 o'clock to go exercising. According to his statement to the police, he left the door unlocked. If he had locked the door, Amanda might still be alive. Amanda Blackburn was shot 3 times, once in the head. Investigators wanted to follow every detail. One of the first paramedics at the scene said Davy's hands were bloody when they got home. The doctor said he was very calm. Davy testified that at first he thought she had fallen to the ground. He did not recognize a gunshot wound. Trying to administer first aid himself, he called 911 12 minutes after entering the house. Why he waited 12 minutes was an important question. A review of the CCTV footage from Davy Blackburn's gym earlier that day showed that he was not lying about this. Although he was questioned as a suspect, he was later released. Neighbors near the house where Blackburn's family lived heard shots about 30 minutes after Davy left. The woman's money and cards were missing, as was her computer. This led police to believe it was a robbery. On the morning of the same day, 10th of November, burglaries were reported from other houses in the area. The police tried to establish a link between the incidents in these reports and the murder. 3 suspects were caught on camera in one of the burglarized houses. The team shared these images and appealed for help from anyone who recognized them. On 11 November, the day after the murder, a stolen car was found. Inside the car were some receipts and a pink pullover. The receipts were evidence of purchases made with Amanda Blackburn's card. The receipt indicated that money had been withdrawn from a cash machine. Detectives obtained permission from the bank and began analyzing CCTV footage from the ATM. The footage showed a man withdrawing money while covering his face with a sweater. This was most likely one of the suspects. A DNA test taken from the sweater was sent to the laboratory for analysis. It revealed the name of one of the suspects, J.N. Watson. This was the most significant development in the case. Watson had previously served time for burglary and had been released on parole. Under the terms of his parole, the police had a record of his phone number. The phone records showed that J.N. Watson was near the Blackburn family home at the time of the incident. The first suspect was then found. The police also had information about Deano Gordon. He was on parole. Records showed he had been with Watson. As the teams continued to watch the footage, things began to unravel. A third person, Larry Taylor, was also on the CCTV. The police also had his phone records. As the teams intensified their investigation, Larry also became a suspect. A few days after the incident, a pistol was found near the Blackburn family home. Ballistic testing of the gun revealed that it was the gun that had been used to shoot Amanda. It had Larry Taylor's fingerprints on it. With such important evidence in the hands of investigators, action was taken immediately. 18-year-old Larry Taylor, 21-year-old J.N. Watson, and 24-year-old Deano Gordon were arrested for questioning. Gordon did not enter the house. He was therefore not charged with murder. However, he also breached his parole and was remanded in custody. During questioning, Larry Taylor confessed that he had shot Amanda. The robbers said they were only interested in the money. They took the opportunity to break into the house after the pastor had left. The door was unlocked, so they had no problem getting in. When they saw Amanda, they jumped her. After the robbery, the suspects went to an ATM and withdrew $1,400. They were caught on camera withdrawing another $1,400 from another ATM. They also admitted that there had been a fight between them and Amanda at the house. They also admitted to breaking into 2 different houses in the morning of the same day. People were asleep when they entered these houses. They left after stealing their cars and valuables. They even noticed that there was a camera inside, but they did not care. They also stole a pink jumper from one of the houses they entered. This jumper was going to get them into trouble. Before they went to court, Gordon and Watson made a deal to say that Larry Taylor had committed the murder. Gordon said he didn't think it would come to that he was only involved in the theft. He was not charged with murder, but was sentenced to 30 years in prison, 25 years in prison, and 5 years supervised release. He apologized to Davy Blackburn in court. J.N. Watson was sentenced to 29 years for robbery causing grievous bodily harm and 10 years each for 2 counts of burglary. Larry Taylor's trial is still ongoing. Gordon and Watson gave evidence against him. The Attorney General has assured me that Taylor will never see the inside of a prison cell. After Amanda Blackburn's death, Davy Blackburn became strangely rich and famous. He organized a charity event to raise money. He also bought a more luxurious house with the money he received from the insurance company after Amanda's death. He constantly appears on television to express his grief over his wife's death. People say he doesn't look sad. This behavior led people to believe that he had deliberately left the door unlocked. As there had already been reports of burglaries in the area, he may have thought that they might go to that house too. It wasn't just that. 2 years after the incident, Davy Blackburn remarried. He had children and began to share his new life on his blog. It was as if Amanda's death had worked in Davy's favor. Cyber sleuths believe that Davy Blackburn may be behind this murder. It is speculated that at some point, Deano Gordon came to the church and listened to his sermons, and that is how they met. Davy and his new wife Christy also knew each other before the murder. According to one source, they both went to the same gym. He couldn't get a divorce because he was a minister, so he had to find another way. Of course, these are theories that people on the internet have come up with, but it is also very important that the theories are based on logical facts. In a sermon he gave 2 days before the murder, he was seen using a gun. Just 2 days after his gun sermon, Amanda was attacked at home. Strangely, in 2018, Davy and Christy dressed up as robbers for Halloween. How normal was it for a man whose wife had been killed in a robbery only a few years earlier to wear such a costume? Such behavior led many to believe that the man, a well-known priest, was well connected and had conspired in his wife's murder. We still do not know what really happened.